Well, good morning again, degenerates. Today we're going to take a little bit more of a deep dive into the New World website. We're going to be taking a look at some of the player housing systems. And we've had a little bit of a whine about the PvP stuff, and some people did not like my opinion on that video. But you know what? I still think that my points there are valid, and so that video is staying up. But we do have some good news surrounding the PvP. Turns out that the devs have made a few changes back. Well, boys, we did it. They changed the PvP, and it's all thanks to me. No, no, don't look there. No, it's me. I'm going to leave a link to a much larger YouTuber who's already covered this, as well as the original IGN article. And like I said in my video complaining about this, the devs are not idiots. They're going to listen to their community. They want to make a good game. Hell, I want them to make a good game. And so I'm very excited about New World, and I think that they've done the right thing by changing some stuff back. So I'm very proud of them. But enough procrastinating, let's get into it. So in this deep dive, we're going to be taking a look at the player housing. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts, my opinions, and I hope you give me some of yours in the comments down below, even if they sting sometimes. God damn. And this series, as I've said before, is for people who are either too lazy or too busy to be able to read this. Maybe you're listening to this while you're doing your dishes, or you're busy working on something else. So making your mark on Aeternum, the player housing. So this was February 2020 on the 20th. Player housing is an exciting recent addition to New World. This highly requested feature will give players the opportunity to own and personalize homes across Aeternum. We want players to feel like they have roots in the world, to experience ownership, security, and stability in a threatening and unpredictable land. Now, I do think the housing system is a good idea. I think it is a little bit of a risky idea, purely because if it's implemented poorly, if it's done in a very sloppy manner, it's going to show. But I don't expect that to happen, especially when there's so much polish on other parts of this game already. And it's always kind of good to just give players their own home base, a place to come back to where you can store all your garbage and never return to and not pay taxes on. More on that later. If you have not read our settlements and governance article, please check that out first. We'll provide you some additional context for this blog. Home Ownership 101. In Aeternum, every settlement has a variety of houses available for purchase. Multiple players can purchase the same physical home location, but they will only be able to see their property and decor unless they are visiting another player's house. If you want to spend time in your home with guests, our houses support a full player group of 5. All you need to do to have someone visit your house is have them in a group with you. Alright, so I'm assuming that it works from a group leader system. So if you're the group leader, then yours is the houses that would show up, right? I'm assuming then that this means that all the houses are kind of going to be instanced. They're all going to be their own little set of territory, just stacked in front of the same spot. In order to be eligible to purchase a house, you must first raise your standing within that settlement's territory. To raise your standing in the territory you want to live in, it is important to get involved in the daily activities of that territory, such as killing creatures, completing faction missions, working on town projects, and crafting items. Once you have reached a high enough standing level, and your character has reached level 20, you can unlock the ability to own a home in that territory settlement. If you want to own more than one house, you can do that too. As long as you meet the requirements for house ownership in a territory, and you do not own the maximum number of houses, you'll be able to buy another one. Okay, so there's a lot I like about that. First, you get to have more than one house. That's really nice because I know that houses are supposed to be linked to buffs somewhat, which means that you could probably get multiple buffs. And then you've kind of got to make the decision between, do you want multiple houses in one settlement where you focus all your time and attention, or do you want your housing spread across several settlements and then you focus on each a little bit. I like the fact that there's a standing system. As you can see here, standing it's got a capital, which usually means that it's a system. It's a mechanic within the game. And that means that's going to encourage players to actually involve themselves in this town, in this territory. It's going to make them want it to be really good. I love that idea. I think that's going to be exceptional. And I like the idea of stacking things on top of each other purely because it means that you're not going to be dealing with these massive sprawling sets of processors that turn your PC into a PowerPoint slide if you're not running, you know, like two 2080 Ti's and you don't have your quantum computer quite set up yet. Another thing that's pretty cool here is that there's actually a level requirement on this. So it's not like you can kind of cheese the system where you just run in at level 1 and you try and you basically make a bank alt for your character. No, it's got a level requirement of level 20, and that means you need to actually put effort into your character before you can own a home. I am praying that they don't do a housing system that's somewhat like WildStar, because that was a mess in my opinion. But I don't see that happening, especially not with Amazon. I don't think they would let that happen to their game. So we got a nice little picture here. You can purchase a house for a price of 2,000 gold pieces by the looks of it, and then it tells you what the property tax would be on it. You can decorate, you can fast travel, and you can get some trophies for buffs. Now I like that you get to personalize this, and I like that if you go into your settlement, yours is the house you'll be able to see as far as I'm aware. I've heard of a mechanic where competing on a leaderboard for whose house shows up in the general public on the settlement, but I guess we'll find out more about that as we go through this article. So, housing variety. Houses range in size, features, and cost. Some houses overlook the center of town, while other houses have balconies with nice views over settlement walls. Some houses have exterior areas for decoration, while others simply feature a front or back porch. There are a variety of locations and styles to choose from in each settlement. The settlements themselves have distinct aesthetics with house designs and floor plans specific to that settlement. So that's nice. That's just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of variety there. You know, not everything's going to look the same. You can own two houses and you're not being instanced into the same spot. I like that. They're a little bit more customization. That's always good. So, personalizing your home. After purchasing a house, you can personalize your space. We have added hundreds of items for you to use to customize your home. Everything from tables and chairs to decorative garden plants and hanging vines can help you design a property to reflect your tastes. Pieces of furniture and ornamental items can be crafted by players and purchased, while other items must be found by exploring and looting the world. On your adventures in Aeternum, you can even find pets to bring home with you. Okay, there's a lot there to enjoy, which means you have to explore the world. You have to go looking for certain things. Not everything is going to be one single cookie cutter system where you go and craft it, you throw it in your home, then you go and craft the other thing and throw it in your home and craft and throw and craft and throw. Now you have to go out into the world. If you want a certain buff, maybe you need to go kill a certain thing. You need to gather a certain resource. There's a lot of variety that's been added there into how houses are built, and so I'm definitely for that. I'm all for that. I'm a sucker for crafting, and I'm a sucker for variation and a lot of flavor that you can put in yourself using in-game mechanics. So here it seems we've got kind of a leaderboard system where this person's in first place with a certain point system, and I would assume that this here is what I was talking about earlier, where in the general public, this person's house would probably show up in the standing. This is, I guess, a nice little bit of competition between players. I hope that there's no cheese tactics that people can put around this and use to try and, you know, make the system work to their advantage. I hope that you actually have to put in effort to get on this leaderboard and to get into first place. Okay, now on to housekeeping. Once you purchase a house, you must pay a small property tax to maintain it. Property tax is paid to the controlling company of the settlement. While failing to pay your property tax won't get you evicted from your house, it will stop mechanics like house recall and trophy buffs from being functional to you. Additionally, you can still visit your decorated house while the property tax is unpaid. You cannot rearrange your decorations, nor will your house be eligible to be displayed to others. More on that below. Now, I have a little bit of a debate about this. I'm not sure how valid the system is, because how many people would not pay their tax? And I think the devs have kind of come up with a solution for this, because if multiple people can own the same space of property and it's all instanced on top of each other, that means that there are multiple people in that position who would pay that tax. It also doesn't limit your population size too heavily. And that means that you won't end up with a system where you may have a settlement that just never pays their taxes and the governing company just can't keep up with its payments, mostly because you're fixing that problem with a quantity idea. Will that work? I hope so. I think it will work. I think that trophy buffs and the house recall system are probably going to be very, very useful. And so you're probably going to want to keep them active. So you'll end up paying your taxes purely for convenience sake. Alrighty, onward we go. The rewards of home ownership. Once you own a house, you'll be able to use it as a recall point. Aeternum is vast. Aeternum is a vast, dangerous place, and the ability to recall home over great distances is a powerful one. In addition to the recall's ability, it is possible to create powerful magical decorations that give your character buffs when they are placed on display in your home. The trophies can do things like give you an advantage in combat against particular enemy types or improve your crafting abilities. However, each house can only have so many trophies on display at a time, so you will need to consider which advantages you want to have on your adventures. So we've got a very interesting interplay there. So if you make a lot of money and you own a home and you own multiple homes, does that mean you get multiple buffs? Because you could then stack buffs on top of each other to make sure you optimize your gameplay, but it's going to be very expensive. That's the downside. So if you suddenly don't earn as much money as you usually do, well then, guess what? You've got to start picking and choosing your buffs a lot more carefully. I like the idea here a lot. I like the idea of incorporating trophies and certain elements, making them magical. That adds into the story, that adds into the lore. It makes you want to personalize things in a certain way. You might decide that you have to keep this really ugly ass trophy on the wall of your house because, well, you need that buff. And you know what? Maybe some of your friends are going to give you some shit for that. Maybe they're going to be like, hey, why you got that ugly piece of trash on the wall? Now, more importantly is the recall system here. So I'm hoping that the recall system can't be cheesed, that it's not going to be like if there's enemies around you, you can just recall in the middle of them and then bugger off home. I hope that there's some kind of range that tells you, well, this is a dangerous area, find a safer spot, and then recall. Because I can see a lot of cheese going on with this recall system. But then again, it is just a nice point of convenience. Some people are not going to like it because they like the hardcore elements of having to lug your way home with all your gear, with all your equipment, and then store it. And some people are going to like it because, well, they're not going to want to spend the next 20 minutes walking back home, especially if, as they say here, Aeternum is vast. So there are social benefits as well. When you pass through a settlement, you can see homes owned and decorated by other players. To determine which home other players see by default, there's a competition behind the scenes. By decorating your house expertly and earning lots of territory standing, your house gets shown off to everyone that comes through a settlement, who does not own the same house as you. Ah, so that's how they've got around that system. You can see where you stand against other players that own the same house through the housing menu, so you know who your competition is. So that's how they've got around that system. So if you own the home, if you own that particular plot, you will see your home. You won't see anyone else's home, just yours. But if you don't own a particular plot of land, well, then you see the guy who's at the top of the leaderboard. That's a nice compromise. That's a very nice compromise. I wonder what happens when everyone picks the same home to own, though, and just abandons the rest. I don't see that happening because players like variety, players like things to be different. But I think that would be rather amusing, actually. I think that would add to the charm of the game if everyone's just living in the same one zone and no one's touched any of the other houses. One of the things I'm wondering about when it comes to the settlements tab itself is, well, do you get some kind of buff for being at the top of this list? Because it seems like if you own a territory plot, or from a social perspective, do you really have any incentive to try and get to the top of that decoration list? Is it a game? Is it just, you know, a kind of a freewheeling system where it's, you know, the prettiest house wins? I'm interested to find out more about how that works in the closed beta, and I'm hoping that there's some kind of minor minor achievement for getting to the top of the standings there. I think that would just be a nice reward for the player who puts in the most effort into their house. Now finally, building a community. When a player finds a place to call home in a settlement, they are joining a community of allies, skilled crafters, adventuring partners, and even adversaries. Players can invest in making their house in Aeternum feel like a home with furniture and decorations, pets and trophies that give them bonuses on their adventures or in their favorite trade skills. We hope that our players' homes become special to them not only as a familiar place to return to after an exciting adventure, but also as a place to share with friends and show off to others. Now there's a little bit of a concern, minor concern that I have here, where the housing buffs that they give out to players, the buffs that will basically envelop your character because you own a home, are they going to have a cash shop? Are they going to have a pay to win system around this where only certain buffs can be achieved by paying money to Amazon? I'm hoping not. I want everything to be achievable in game, but they are also marketing this game as a pay to play game, not a subscription service. So you pay a sum of money to them, they give you the game, you get to play the game. So I'm hoping that they don't do it as a pay to win buff system, but I'm very interested to see how they're going to monetize this game, keep it running for a long period of time. I'm worried about the monetization model, but then again, that's because I'm looking at it from an outside perspective. I don't work at Amazon, I'm not one of Amazon's devs, so I have to work off of conjecture. I don't get to see what the devs have come up with, and I'm pretty sure that, as I said in the last video, that these devs are not idiots. Amazon is not full of idiots. These guys are going to be smart about their monetization. The only thing I don't want from them is please do not make this a pay-to-win game. That's all. Now, we did see that a little bit with Isabella's amulet, but that's still minor. That's still forgivable. It's not as egregious as it could have been. But anyway, that's been a look at the housing tab of New World. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive. I hope you've got some value out of it. If you liked this video, well, give it a like. If you didn't, well, then you know where that dislike button is. And you know what, if you want more of this content, well, then hit that subscribe button. Next time, we'll probably be taking a look into another one of the dev diaries before jumping back into the website, seeing what else is here. So I'll see you in the next one. I hope you have a great day. I hope everything goes your way. It's time now for you and I to bugger off.